Okay, my name is Dustin Betts. I am the Community and Content Manager at the Founder Institute, and I'm here with Razvan Dinu. He is the founder and CEO of RoboSelf, an online personal assistant startup. They automate repetitive desktop and web-based tasks where they save their customers thousands of hours of time doing otherwise monotonous work and freeing up that time for their clients to work on something else, more productive or more fulfilling. So, Razvan Dinu, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure to be here with you.
Awesome. So before we dive into your startup, RoboSelf, can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself or your personal story? What were the experiences, personal or professional, that led you to founding the company?
Sure. So originally, I'm a math and computer science geek, so I've been really passionate about these two topics, and I have 2 silver medals in international Olympiads in mathematics. Then I went on and did a PhD in artificial intelligence. And I've been involved in the startup arena for the last 10 years, I think. Been to Seed Camp, been to 500 startups. My previous startup, I went from CTO to CEO, and we had a total funding of over 6 million. So I kind of been around and played the game, let's say. And at the end of last year, I wanted to start something new, just was kind of in between startups, and joined the Founder Institute program, which really helped come up with this RoboSelf idea. When I joined the program, I did not have KD. I just joined as a solo founder. And then it was really interesting to go through the process and see RoboSelf taking shape. And how I came to RoboSelf, well, on one hand, I saw this rise of RPA technology, robotic process automation, and then saw that it's only applied for enterprise. UiPath, which is the leader, is a Romanian company, so I actually got to know a few people here. And then on the other hand, my father's an accountant, and I know there's a lot of repetitive work. I've done a lot of repetitive work for my father. So I asked myself, okay, why shouldn't small and medium businesses take advantage of RPA? And that's kind of how it all started. And that's why we're here today.
Nice. I love that the problem came from like within the family, like the father-in-law's profession. So that's very interesting, kind of as an origin story. So I've read like online on your website elsewhere that, okay, RoboSelf, you use natural language processing to automate tasks, for example, compliance reports. But just we'd like to hear it from you, the founder. Kind of give us your short pitch. How do you explain it to somebody who maybe isn't familiar at all with artificial intelligence? What is RoboSelf?
Sure. So we at RoboSelf, we build robotic personal assistants for small and medium businesses. So what does that mean? We build software robots that understand natural language and which are capable of executing repetitive tasks on behalf of their user. Basically, as you already mentioned, this saves people a lot of time that is wasted in those repetitive tasks, enabling them to focus more on higher level jobs which require more decision making, more creativity, and so on. In other words, you can think about it like we democratize this RPA technology, which, as I mentioned, is currently available mainly to enterprise users. And the problem we solve is this time wasted by these people in tasks that don't bring much value.
Yeah, one other question I kind of just have, because people who haven't thought about this very much might not be familiar. Can you explain the context of natural language processing a little bit within artificial intelligence, kind of what that means or how it's different from, I don't know, keywords or whatever the opposite of natural language processing might be?
Sure. So natural language processing means that the user expresses the intent it has using natural language, so in the same way that they would talk to a human. And this has traditionally been a hard task. This is why we actually, like 20, 30 years ago, we started with programming languages, and like we made very rigid structures in which we talked to computers. And then over time, we kind of understood how to model more and more clever systems that understand the language of the natural language. And the major breakthroughs have been related to machine learning, to neural networks, and so on. Like there's lots of models today that are being tried, which can actually start to learn natural language a lot better than before.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think like everybody has heard some amount of buzz about artificial intelligence coming onto the scene, kind of just to zoom out across a huge variety of industries. People, I mean, it's already kind of doing some stuff, but people are looking at what are traditionally seen as like white collar jobs and saying that, AI could be coming for their jobs. There's so much excitement about it, but there's also kind of so much apprehension about it. I'm just wondering about, I mean, how you think about these things as somebody who really understands deeply things like all about artificial intelligence. I mean, how are you grappling with these kind of these questions that people are asking related to unlocking productivity, or yeah, how do you think about that just generally?
Yeah, sure. So obviously there's a lot of hype, as you mentioned. So we kind of overestimate a bit what AI can do right now. There's definitely been a lot of breakthroughs in terms of specific tasks that artificial intelligence can do. There's been major breakthroughs in machine learning, and it's kind of we started to apply it in different areas. And then there's also this RPA, this robotic process automation, which also came along, which is mainly about automation rather than artificial intelligence. And then we're kind of seeing them being put together in like one whole package and moving towards these systems that we interact with, in a natural way, and as we would with an intelligent person. My view is that the successful approach is a bottom-up one. And what I mean by that is that we will start, and we have already started with specific tasks like scheduling and automating certain repetitive tasks and booking and just various things, very specific, and then kind of build up from there towards this general artificial intelligence that is capable of doing pretty much everything. And
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Sorry. This kind of RPAs. So yeah, roles for personal assistants in the workplace or for personal use. Who is using them now? Who's maybe adopting them first? Like who are the first use cases for these kind of personal assistants? And then after that, what are the barriers maybe that are preventing other organizations or other types of firms from deploying these kind of artificial intelligence bots?
So there are two areas where we see. So we can see virtual assistants, personal assistants coming from two ends of the spectrum. On one hand, we have the consumer side where we see these personal assistants, these virtual assistants built by big companies like Alexa, like Google Assistant, like Siri, and so on, which tackle general tasks like making a reservation for a restaurant and playing some music and turning on the lights in a smart house and so on. And on the other hand, we have the enterprise area where we have these chatbots platforms that kind of started to also take the approach of a virtual assistant, which pretty much integrate with those in-house systems, with the enterprise platforms, starting to automate and do things there. And there's this spot in the middle where we have most of these small and medium businesses, which is kind of left out at the moment. And this is where we come in. We try to build these virtual assistants for the small and medium businesses for specific use cases using a bottom-up approach, as I mentioned.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then, I guess, because yeah, when you point to kind of the example, certainly on the consumer side, I think those names are very familiar to people, even if they don't think of them as artificial intelligence. It's like something that's just useful and in their home. So, okay, so we're addressing that kind of SME, small, middle market. So, can you talk just a little bit more about that? So a little bit more about maybe the specific kinds of tasks or what's unique about those small businesses, and maybe what again, like the barriers or the specific traits that are going to be most useful to these kind of small medium businesses.
So what's specific to the small and medium businesses? First of all, RP started in enterprise, and also a lot of artificial intelligence is applied in enterprise, and that's because those people, they have the big budgets for this kind of solutions, and all they could bring in-house expertise to solve specific tasks for them. However, and on the other hand, on the consumer side, we just have loads of people, so obviously bigger companies could build solutions that target them. For small and medium businesses, we kind of have a problem because they don't have the budgets that the big companies have, and they don't have the in-house knowledge to adopt this type of technologies. So the solution for them is basically an as-a-service solution. That's why we have most of the, like we've seen a movement from software to software as a service, so that most of them, they address small and medium businesses. It's the same with AI, it's the same with RPA. Like they need this type of as-a-service solution where they basically pay a small monthly fee and they use something that works out of the box. And this is what we try to do with RoboSelf. We take these, we go vertical by vertical, we pick individual use cases that we develop. Right now we're doing it in-house, but our plan is further down the line to kind of have an ecosystem of skills that are being developed for these companies. And they just like activate the skills they want for their robot, and they just pay for it, and that's it. So no hassle, no big costs, and also no sophisticated knowledge they will need to have in-house. And a key thing for them is to be simple. So that's why our approach is like, just build it as simple as possible, just a simple robot. Like the interface is basically a chat interface where you just talk to the robot. You can use WhatsApp to talk to your robot, and the robot starts executing the things that you need. And also, obviously, you can ask the robot to various questions, and it will be able to even be proactive and remind you of certain things. But again, starting very vertical specific and building up from there into as many verticals as possible.
Yeah, so can you talk about kind of the verticals and how maybe you see where you are now and where the verticals that you kind of look forward to in the future, maybe?
Sure. So as I mentioned, my father is an accountant. I've done myself a lot of repetitive work in accounting. We started in accounting, so we've automated here in Romania the tasks related to preparing and filing and checking the monthly compliance report that an accountant has to submit for each individual company they provide services for. And this is our like test vertical, and one that we're starting to have really nice traction in. And then obviously anything that's related to HR, payroll, legal, all these areas, even internationally, they have a lot of repetitive work. And basically pretty much any professional service where you have to do with loads of clients, loads of entities of the same type.
All right, yeah, that's good. That's awesome. That does make a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out now and just talk a little bit more about or ask you a little bit more about just your entrepreneurial journey. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced as a founder? And I want to ask specifically here about RoboSelf and not your previous venture. What were the kind of big barriers that you ran up against in the early stages of building this company?
Yeah, sure. It's been actually a very interesting journey with RoboSelf. So the first challenge is actually creating the initial momentum, because like you kind of have an idea, but then like when do you actually start, when you actually commit to it full time and so on. And this is where Founder Institute helped me a lot. So I didn't have the idea, but in the span of like 4 weeks, the initial 4 sessions, like I managed to actually have to talk to potential customers and come up with the branding and so on. So like the solution to dealing with how do I get started is like joining an accelerator like Founder Institute is absolutely great, and I highly recommend it. Then moving on, like it's developing the initial MVP, like especially for a technical co-founder, like how much effort do you actually put into the technology and how much we talk to customers. Like it's more of an art than a science to do that. I've pretty much done the opposite of what I've done in my previous experience, as in I've actually coded from the customer's office, like just drove with my motorcycle there, coded for 2 hours, and then I had the feature live in production, let's say. And I remember how I saved the first 30 minutes like that. So yeah, this building the MVP as close to the customer as possible is a challenge. And I will also mention maybe the time fragmentation for a founder. Like as a founder, you have to wear so many hats initially, like from like pitching to developing to the fundraising, to talk to customers, support for customers, and so on. So like I found that to be challenging. My approach is to kind of take one at a time, focus really deeply on it, and kind of do some time boxing around various areas that I need to take care of. So I would say, yeah, these would be the top 3 I had in my journey so far.
Yeah, no shortage of challenges there, but that's awesome. So you've obviously worked really hard to build this company to where it is now. What is the thing that you have accomplished or achieved so far that you're most proud of to date?
Uh, Interesting question. So one of the things I'm really proud of is actually the impact we're having even with even really early. And what I mean by that, I've just checked the stats earlier. I think we're at about 349 hours that we've saved so far for our customers, and I'm really proud of that. I think building a product that has a measurable impact for the customers and something meaningful, like in those 349 hours, probably some amazing things happened, or like some people just had a more chill time. I don't know. I have no idea what they did with that time, but yeah, just having that sort of impact, I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I love that too, because I think that a lot of times the artificial intelligence, sort of the conversation in layman's terms, gets very much framed around like something being lost. But in reality, especially for these kinds of tasks, it's freeing somebody up to do something else. So I like that being your kind of metric for impact, because it does seem like really valuable for somebody, especially like a professional like that, they can allocate that time to something else that's more meaningful for them. So I love that. What
Yeah.
advice would you offer to an early stage or aspiring entrepreneur just getting started? And since you're a technical person, I'd like kind of your advice specifically for like somebody like yourself who's a solo technical founder, but maybe somebody who hasn't ever launched a company before. What kind of advice would you offer for somebody who fits that profile?
Very important question. So my advice right now is different than what it would have been maybe 3 years ago. Right now, I think one of the most important things is the vision and the mission of the company, and like generally to be fully aligned with what you want to build. And why I say that is because it's very difficult, like building a startup. There are so many challenges that you're gonna run up against. And if you truly believe, like if there's something that moves you in what you're trying to do, then you're gonna be in the mindset like, okay, this is a challenge, I need to find a solution. This is a challenge, I need to find a solution. You're not gonna doubt yourself. Like that's something you want to do. And because again, I've been through the Founder Institute program, like I took the time in those mission and vision sessions and in the branding session. They were awesome. So like I kind of really felt I got aligned with the mission I have for RoboSelf. And I actually dropped the two other ideas like really fast and even wrote something about, okay, this is why I'm choosing this one and this is why it's meaningful. And I've seen that. I've seen the drive that's given me to build the company.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. The last question that I really have for you is, where is RoboSelf headed next? Any news, updates, anything you want to share with the Founder Institute community, or any asks that you want to make to anybody who's listening?
Sure. So the first important piece of news is that we've just raised our first pre-seed round. So we're very happy. Like Early Game Ventures, our lead investors here in Romania, has put a lot of faith in us to build this company, and we thank them, and we're very proud to have them on board. And secondly, over the last 3 to 6 months, we're gonna start launching a few more like free skills maybe for RoboSelf. We're kind of in the middle of doing some research of what to go into next, and if whoever listens to our interview could use the form on the website to let us know what tasks they would like to have automated by a robot, that would really help us in this side and prioritize the next verticals that we should go into.
Cool. We can follow up offline about that. I want to make sure that we include that link. So if you're listening to this, look down. We'll include the link so that you can find the form so they can make those requests. That is really awesome. And congratulations also on the early money, the pre-seed round. That's really great.
Thank you.
This has been a really enlightening chat, and I know that we're all at Founder Institute looking forward to keeping up with RoboSelf and where you're headed next. And yeah, as you have more news to share, we'll make sure to help blast it out so our community can follow it along. Razvan, Dinu, thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.